Classy.
boy.
Classy.
He was super sharp, very intelligent little boy. And as he's leaving, because we put mom and her boyfriend in jail, Children's Services come and got him. And he gave me a hug as he was leaving, and I was giving him a hug because he was such a super little boy. And he says, "It'll be okay." He says, "I'll be back." And I just thought to myself, you know, if this kid stays in this family, yeah, he'll be back, but not the way he's thinking.
No, that's too bad.
It just carries on through the generations. And hopefully this kid will, his aunt from California called, and his grandmother from California, so maybe he'll get into a family out there.
A good situation instead of a bad one.
His life. I can only hope for that.
That's sad.
Yeah. But I know there's a big push, and I'm a libertarian at heart, libertarian conservative, but there's a big push to legalize drugs. I just see every family that is ruined by drugs, you know, and I see people that did the psychedelic mushrooms and the heroin and the LSD
back in the 60s.
Oh, are those mushrooms?
Yeah, these are the psychedelic mushrooms you've always heard about. I
Okay,
think
that's
the Beatles
crazy.
wrote a song about them.
That's mushrooms right there.
Yes.
No, I mean, this isn't something you find in one of our yards, right?
No,
I mean,
this
is something that
has to be grown and
Okay.
then has to be processed. Something that grows in your yard is marijuana. It's a very wild crop here in Ohio. Jimson weed. Now, Jimson weed is another one that will fry your mind. I had a kid back in '76 do Jimson weed, and he just went comatose. And,
wow.
When I left 3 years later, he was still comatose.
Jeez.
Because there's no regulation of
And
it.
you don't know how much is a good amount to.
No, they don't.
Right.
Right,
Just-
it's like the paint sniffers. I mean, you try something
Yeah,
because
you
you think
got,
it's going to be great, and then you, I guess you just, it's like anything else. You have to keep doing more.
I've
and
never
more.
seen one of those.
This is
What's that?
the hitters, the hitters.
What is that?
CO2 cartridge.
Okay.
They put it in here. There's a little needle in the bottom.
Oh,
there.
for the love of I hate
I'm
needles.
sorry.
I could never be a
And you
drug
hit
user
the
because I hate needles.
microphone. Well, it's not sticking you; it's sticking the CO2 cartridge.
Oh, okay, got it.
You put the balloon over the end.
Oh, it's like is this huffing?
Yes.
Okay.
Put the balloon over the end, and the CO2 fills up the balloon. Well, you can't take that straight out of the cartridge because if you've ever shot CO2 pellet guns or anything, it gets really cold.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
And it would freeze the inside of your mouth or your nose.
So that's why the balloon is.
So that's
is
why the balloon.
used.
They put it over the end of this. When you tighten that down, it
Punctures
breaks,
it.
Punctures it. There you go. Thank you. And it fills the balloon up, and then they when it's warm, then they can huff it.
Good Lord, people
I
think,
saw-
Drugs 101.
people think of anything.
Good thing kids are still in school.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
Well,
saw
people
the-
enjoy altering
yeah.
their mental state. I guess that's
Oh,
the way it
absolutely.
is. Is
They-
people just and now most of these people are doing it to escape
You know, they
from
carry
their horrible lives, I guess, or
their little scales. No, they don't have horrible lives. They're just being a
they're
wild
just
thing.
bored.
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite a collection of like
That's the
pipes
little
and
scale,
stuff.
so
there.
that when you're buying from somebody,
You can
determine
tell.
how much he's selling you.
Oh my
You
gosh.
get that.
And do they cut it with other materials so that it's
You have to cut
You
heroin,
have to cut it, okay.
cocaine. You have to cut those down because if you did 100%, that's why we've had so many drug overdoses. When you do a high percentage of the drug,
Right.
your body just can't
Can't
take
take
it.
it.
So they're used to taking so much of the cut material, and then something that was less cut, they take the same amount, and then it just
Yeah.
blows them up.
They're
isn't
dead.
that
Toast.
Pulp Fiction? Doesn't she take?
Yeah.
She thinks
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
cut and it's not
It's
cut, and she
right.
does it. Yeah.
Poor
Very-
Uma.
yeah. Poor
Uma.
Uma. That's not good, and
Such a miss.
it just seems like a lot of time and effort and money wasted on being bored. You know, I don't understand why people. I understand why people get into something like this and they get addicted to it, and then they can't stop. It's the initial. I am so bored today. I'm going to try something completely new and different. And this is what you do. I mean, it seems like there's a lot of other ways to waste time.
Oh, we stopped a car just the other day, and they were all sweating, and, getting really nervous, and stuffing pills where they don't belong, and Vicodin and heroin in the little capsules that you see like that. these clear yellow capsules are really popular now.
I was driving up to let's see, I was driving up to Michigan about 3-4 months ago, and it must have been a drug bust because I was driving in the fast lane and I saw a car just like getting it right behind me, and I was exceeding the speed limit myself, but the car behind me was going to run me over, so I pulled over. He shot by, and then the highway patrol shot by me, and it shook my car. It must have been going over 100 miles an hour, just shot right by it, and there was just stuff being thrown out the window of the car.
That's not good.
It was just everything. Just garbage, everything. Just
don't the
everything's
cops
being
see
thrown
that?
out.
I mean, can't they see everything being thrown out of the car? Or
Sure,
is it,
but over a 2-mile
yeah, I
stretch
guess. Yeah,
along
crazy.
the interstate, and you go to find one little syringe
Yeah.
or something,
Yeah.
you know, that may be full of heroin,
Right.
may be a felony,
Mhm.
you know, over a 2-mile stretch, or some chases, you know, go on for a long time.
Yeah, I guess
Oh,
there's
yeah.
no chain of custody. You can't.
Hopefully you got a
prove.
good citizen that says, I stopped, I
Yeah.
saw it coming out of the car, here it is.
Yeah, I
Right.
saw this
And-
come out of that car right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And I will testify to that.
That,
Yes.
well, a lot of times they don't want to testify.
Did they stop the car ahead of you and you drove past them and they were?
I never actually caught up
Oh,
to
really?
them. So he must have taken an exit
Oh,
and
okay.
then went off like that. But no, I mean, it was going fast. No, I mean, fantastic. No, I mean, just amazing.
That's pretty bad if it shakes your car.
Yeah. Oh,
Because your car's already going
yeah.
fast
I was already
enough.
going fast enough,
And
it
then
just
you're like-
shook it.
So if you had to characterize what's going on in Tip versus what's coming out from outside of Tip, do you think is the heroin more of an outside drug that people are passing through? Is it the drug of choice for people in Tip, or is that more like pot?
I could name you, again, half a dozen people in Tip that I know are heroin
Really?
addicts.
Mm-hmm.
Have been pretty much most of the time I've been here in Tip. But they've always been that way. Their lives were ruined years and years ago. I would say most of what we're dealing with is from the outside coming into Tip.
Okay.
Stopping to get gas, stopping to meet here, to
Sure.
make a buy or a trade or whatever they're doing, or just stopping to use the restroom, or stopping because they really get the crunchies. They want to go to McDonald's.
I need Cheetos.
They need to go into the gas station and,
Right.
and get their
Get the-
chocolate and
yeah.
get their Cheetos, exactly like you say. And we find those empty containers on the back seat.
Yeah.
First thing an officer walks up to the car and he sees all these Cheetos bags and McDonald's and
It's the
Burger
sign.
King
Yeah,
and,
the munchies.
you know, yeah, when you see a year's worth of garbage back there,
Wow.
automatically the hairs start standing up and you want to get back up there. Because sometimes they do have guns. And we had one that left a syringe, even though they were handcuffed, left a syringe stuck in the back seat in the seatbelt receiver.
Right.
And the syringe, the needle was sticking up. And when the officer, after he got the prisoner out, the officer, we always check. We have to check before and after every person that gets in the back so we can testify there was nothing there. Well, he saw it. Luckily, he didn't run his hand
thank
across
God.
it. He saw the syringe in there and the needle sticking up. Why else, if this person was trying to discard it and not get caught with it, why didn't they just throw it on the floor or
Yeah.
something? They stuck it in there because,
On purpose.
Wow.
you know, we're not exactly loved in some circles of society.
I'm
That
getting
is
the sensation that criminals aren't necessarily nice people.
Yeah.
They're not really friendly and happy.
And some of them can be.
Can
Uh,
can be.
absolutely.
Just
Some-
nice people that are
Some of
caught
them
up in
can
something.
be very, yeah, they just, when they were younger, made poor choices.
Bad
And
choices.
just like an alcoholic, you know, everybody loves a happy alcoholic. Some of them, when they're sober, some of them, when they're drunk, can be a mean drunk, and you're going to have a fight on your hands. But then when they're sober, they're apologizing and telling you they would never do that to you if they were sober. And they really do apologize, and you find it hard to hold a grudge against them. You know, this
Right.
drugs or whatever their drug of choice is just taking over their lives.
That's one of the arguments I've heard about legalizing drugs is that some of the drugs, like pot, are innocuous in some ways and could be treated like alcohol and controlled and sold in particular places, and you have to follow the rules. And if you're pulled over when you're high, it's the same as if you're a drunk driver.
Doesn't hurt anybody but that person.
Well, yeah, that's the myth. But yeah, I don't know if that's true or
exactly.
not. But I can't see those rules applying to something like coke or heroin. I don't know that you can you responsibly use a drug like this. I don't think it's possible.
No.
If you watched movies, you can. No, I mean,
they-
Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
The way that Hollywood is
Yeah,
treated,
people in
cocaine is like this is the party drug. If you
Yeah.
really want to have a good time, look at all these great people, well dressed, affluent, great people having a great time.
They never show any sores on anybody. What's up with that?
No,
you know?
they look great.
See
Yeah,
the
they look
before
great.
and afters.
Yeah.
Google
Google
some methamphetamine
Oh.
freaks, and you'll see some before and after
Yeah.
mug shots. Like they're arrested here before they became a
Right.
meth addict, and then they're arrested a year later and
Right.
aged like 20 years, lost all their teeth, have all these open sores.
That's a big thing on Justified. I don't know if you watch that show or
Yeah.
not, but there's a hillbilly heroin, all the OxyContin. That's like a big topic on there because that's like Kentucky is where
Yeah.
a lot of that's happening.
Have we ever had
and
a meth lab
they're always
Yes.
showing.
in
We-
Tip?
Yeah, we mobile meth lab.
So in a van or something?
It was in the trunk of a
Is
car.
that the people that try to get the cough syrup? Is that what that's about? or
That
is that
was,
something different?
when
Yeah,
they
the
were doing it,
Sudafed.
yes.
Yeah.
Is it Sudafed
Yeah.
from the cough
Yeah,
syrup?
that was the whole. I had a sinus infection. I wanted to get the Sudafed, but the stuff on the shelf doesn't work because the stuff that actually works is behind the counter now. So
Right.
you
They
have to
sign
sign
for
it.
You have
They
to
see
sign.
my driver's license to go in and get
But
it.
you don't need
We
a.
don't have that much anymore.
Yeah.
Because
That's good.
because of the controls that were put on it.
But you don't need a prescription. You just need to sign, and then you can probably only buy 2 or something like that.
Probably.
That's good.
Mhm.
You don't need 20 of that.
Maybe you ought to have Miss Crow from down at Clark's Pharmacy.
That's
come
a
in
good.
and
That's
talk about
actually a
that.
good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a limit on that, but I mean, if you're in there buying it because you need it, that's one thing. If you're going in there and you're cleaning off the
Yeah.
shelves, I mean, don't people figure out that kind of behavior is suspicious? I would think.
Well, absolutely, but
Yeah.
if it wasn't illegal, how can they turn them down?
Yeah,
Right.
They had that Dateline. I think it was Dateline that had that thing with the air cans, the aerosol
yeah.
cans that clean your computer keyboard. Apparently, there's a way that you can huff that and get high. And so,
Please.
CVS, when it scans, it's supposed to pop up and say, show a driver's license. You got to be 18 to buy a can of air.
And you can only buy
Right.
a couple.
And so they did this expose, and apparently not all the computer systems talk to each other, and CVS got into big trouble. And then they just quit selling it. They just said, we're not going to sell canned air anymore because it's too much of trouble. We don't want to, have a kid end up in a hospital because we were selling a can of air for
all
$1.50.
of society hurts because
Yeah.
there was one
I don't
irresponsible.
I don't agree with all of the whole legalization of drug stuff, but it does fascinate me that no matter what, I mean, if all the heroin and coke went away tomorrow,
There'd still be stuff
there's
that
some-
people would do.
some
Yeah.
idiot somewhere is going to figure out how to take,
Gasoline.
fluorescent lights. I mean,
Crack them open.
And if people are that desperate for that type of mind-altering activity, I don't know how you ever get past it. I don't know how you make it better.
Paint. But
Yeah.
every one of these,
Paint, yeah.
every one of these come from some thing in society that is legal.
Right.
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 The marijuana is a marijuana plant.
Mhm.
If it's growing wild in your yard, you're not going to get arrested
Right.
for it.
Mhm.
Cultivating it, that's a different matter.
Yeah,
But I have
that's amazing.
a
If people,
close family relative
Mm.
that his whole life he's been nothing but a marijuana addict.
Mhm.
And people say he's not an addict. Well, I say he is because he's never held a job more than 6 weeks. He has a real problem with authority. Any boss that says anything to him, he cusses him out and quits.
Mhm.
He's always broke, always asking his mom and dad for money, and it just his family never really were taught the morals of society to go out and get jobs and pay your high taxes and be a good, productive citizen in society.
you should have been on our fair tax.
I
show.
listened
That
to
was a
Joe
good-
Lasanti the other day.
That was a
and,
good one because
Joe and I email each other